All right. Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Today we have a filmmaker, producer. You got a lot going on here.
Yeah. Special effects makeup.
Special effects makeup, electrical department, second unit director, makeup. You were yourself in an episode. um, Cindy, tell us about yourself.
um well, that pretty much covered it. Oh, you forgot plumbing. No, well, I'm Cindy Sanabria, also known as Slaughter Sin, your she-wolf empress of gore, from the horror tour guide and women of color in horror. And I am a horror host, filmmaker, writer, director, all that good stuff. And I dabble in special effects makeup. I pride myself in my blood. I make blood from scratch. You will be seeing it in my next horror. And yeah, I think I pretty much covered it all.
So you're a horror host. How did you get into horror hosting?
Well, I moved to Florida and it was like lame over here. I couldn't connect. Like I wanted a horror network. And before I moved to the state, I used to do a lot of like horror travel blogging.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to go to like a lot of haunted destinations and basically that kind of like grew and I decided to launch a website. Also to have a platform where I could create my own content and create my own build my own fan base, which worked. And yeah, and then I launched a horror tour guide, hence the horror tour guide was born. And it's always been it's a multifaceted site where it's your go-to place for everything horror. So it's not just horror movies, like everything from horror video games, horror designers. There was a while that I was doing like vlogging, like video blogging and interviewing like people in the industry, and that's how I got into like horror hosting. And they started taking off, and everything from Russ McKamey from McKamey Manor to if anybody knows him, he does this like torture haunt that's like infamous, and everybody's they've even written petitions to stop him and everything. Down to people that a guy that carves skulls for a living. All that fascinates me, and it's all part of the horror genre, believe it or not. So yeah.
See, it's funny because we do a lot of the same stuff.
Nice.
I started doing the interviews. I became a host. I've done a couple episodes as the horror host, but I'm mostly the sci-fi and the cartoon guy.
Nice. Anime, cartoon, or just cartoon
everything. Literally right now I do a Saturday morning cartoon block like you would have in the 80s. So it starts at 8 in the morning and it ends at noon. Except for sometimes I go a little bit over. I put the commercials in, I put the PSAs, I put all that stuff in. I come in, I talk about the cartoons. Sometimes I'm a big comic book nerd, as you can probably tell with all the comic books set everywhere. I talk about comic books, and then I had people because I was always posting on my Twitter and Instagram when I'd get new vinyl in. And they was like, "Oh, did you get?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I started talking about vinyl at the end of my episodes now.
To be continued.
And oh yeah, so now I'm like, people are always asking me like, "Oh, did you get that?" I'm like, I buy lots of soundtracks, scores, and heavy metal and
Nice
synthwave. So that's what I'm really into right now.
Nice. You said comics. I just bought my first Bizarre comic. I bought a Christmas edition, ironically enough.
Which one was it? Bizarre Comics?
Bizarre Comics. If you give me 1 second, I could go grab it for you and show
yeah, cool.
It's really cool. And I really think it was fate that I found this comic, because it just so happens that the film that I'm working on, Merciless Christmas, is a Christmas horror. So give me 1 second, I'll grab that for you.
Yep.
Okay, I am back.
All right.
I know you sparked the chord in me. I said, oh shit, let me just show him my stuff. Oh, do you have cursing on your show? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I allow it. Yeah.
All right, cool. Red. All right, so Are we? Oh yeah, we're still recording.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, this is one. But this is not the one. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me show you the one that I mentioned.
Oh, yes. I have that one at the shop.
How much?
Yeah.
I got this comic for $8. It's
I
just
just sold it to you for $1.
You would have sold it to me for $1, really?
I
love
got
this.
like 5 of the same issue.
Are you
So
kidding me? See, if I
no.
would have known, you have more comics?
I think I have some more Bizarre Adventures, but not. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we got to talk definitely because I'm starting to collect these. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
was a sign that I had to finish my movie. I was like, yes. And then I launched my campaign.
There we go. I have my How to Draw comics, the Marvel way, floating around here somewhere.
Yeah, that was the first one that I showed you. My Stan Lee is the How to Draw. That's so cool. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
I even have the DVD and the VHS tape that went with this.
Wow.
I'm a huge nerd.
That's
So
awesome though. See, I mean, that's pretty cool. I just started getting into like little comic collecting and slowly but surely, and then there's whatchamacallit, I thought this was pretty cool. So the library had like 5 for $1 kind of thing.
yeah.
Hey, there's no shame in my game because I found this really, really cool animated Art of War version.
Oh, nice.
This shit is so cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
You see that? And it's like literally like a comic book. It's so fucking cool. And it's the Art of War. And there's like the Japanese.
Yep.
If you see it right here.
Got the kanji down the side and the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Such a cool. Yeah.
I think, I know this is bad. I think I have a different printing of that somewhere around here.
Yeah, I mean, there's the actual book, which I have.
Yeah, I definitely have the Art of War, but I think I have the animated one too.
Really? I never seen it in comic book form. I was like, dude, this is so hot. I have to cop this. And I did. I was like, shit, 27.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Hell, worst comes to worst. If you didn't want it, you could throw it up for sale for a few bucks and you'd get it. Yeah.
All you just like take off like the little sticker on the side that says library.
I always hate those. I got is this it? Maybe. Every once in a while, I get people who buy stuff at library sales, bring stuff into me to sell. And then I end up with stuff, and yeah, that's it, because it still get the sticky, because it was a library book at one time, so it's still like slightly sticky.
Right. I hate when the library does that. They just
or they put their stamp at the top.
And they like so violate the books. They're like, "Fuck you, you're not gonna resell this."
Well, when I worked at a printing company for about 5 years, I would always take books that I got from the library if they had the stamp at the top. We had a machine. I'd just stick it in there and just slice this little tiniest bit off so there would be no ink at the top.
That's actually pretty genius.
Yeah. And like this, I couldn't do that with because it's hardback. So we had a little bit of a sander. I would just take this right off.
You're giving me whatchamacallit, tips here.
Tips, yeah. And if you need stickers, just take your hair dryer and wave it over it, let it get in the
and it'll
peel it right off.
I've done it. Nifty little tricks.
Yep. Well, my wife worked at a bookstore for years. I've been working in comic books since I was 15, so I got really good at fixing books.
That's cool. So you do book binding and all that?
I used to when I worked at the printing company. I haven't done it in years. Since I don't need to. I have my own store now, so I just left all the working in a printing company behind. That's all my past now. So it's nice when you're able to walk away from a job. Well, I didn't walk away from it. The plant closed, but
well, it was your time. It was your time to go.
Yep. Well, I tried to quit like a year and a half before, and they begged me to stay. And I was like, well, I don't need this job. My store's doing well enough. And they're like, what would it take? And I'm like, I only want to work like 3 days a week. So I worked 3 days a week for like a year until the plant closed. So Oh man. So you're a horror host. What's your favorite episode of that you've done as a horror host?
Oh, I would have to say it's kind of they were all pretty really good. David Howard Thornton was really fun. We that's actually was our like initial meet, and then like shortly after that we wound up meeting in person and had like ice cream and became friends from that point on. But I would have to say David's was really good because he's such a great personality. Like, I mean, you don't even need him on camera, just his voice alone, he's so animated. And I used to do this thing where I would devour my guest at the end of every show. At the end of every show, I'm like, you hear my voice morphing into like a werewolf, and then so everybody has to like, and it's kind of funny because some of these people they're directed, they're like, don't do it, it's kind of funny. Like that was actually a fun little part of my podcast. But yeah, I would have to say it would probably be David. And I think the most interesting one was Russ McCamey from McCamey Manor, because he broke down like his inside secrets on how he does things. He even admitted that somebody died, and there was like there was real crazy stuff on that podcast. And so and his ex-girlfriend Holly, she also, so I did a double podcast on them. I think her podcast actually has more hits than his. And it was just basically like he put her through all this torture. So she was talking about all these things that he was doing to her and locking her in room. It was just really weird. But if you listen to it, it's a really interesting podcast. It's definitely not something that, because he's so engaging. Like you're like, are you fucking crazy? Like this guy is really doing this to people. It's like, yeah, I'll pull out a tooth and I'll tattoo this guy. Like I don't know how to do tattoos. I just, yeah.
That is a nope.
Yeah, and throughout the whole podcast, he's like, Cindy, come on, baby. I want you come down to the horn. I was like, no, thank you.
Like,
I'll pass.
I like my teeth, and
Yeah, and there's only like two things that you could take from his like list of 100 things that he'll do to you. So like, I'm like, yeah, I'll pass. I'll pass. Like, I like filming and the torture, not being a part of it. So yeah.
There's a difference between making a movie and doing it for pretend, and then actually setting out to like actually harm people. So
Yes, and it's kind of weird, his journey. Like interesting on how he went from like working on a military ship, like doing like haunts for the military guys on the ship, to upgrading to this like torture haunt, and having like people sign these outrageous waivers and then filming. I mean, like people. I mean, I've seen some like really nasty stuff that he put these people through, and I don't even know how somebody can even, you know, stand even a portion of that stuff. It's like, my goodness, like violation to the 1000th degree. It's that.
and they paid to do it too. That's the worst part.
No, actually, well, yeah, they do actually. Yeah, they do. And I think that that now it's like donations for like his doggies, which is pretty good. So you see the soft side of him. He likes dogs, he won't put his dog through those torturous things,
No.
so he's a good guy for that.
I understand that. As like, I don't like my neighbor. Love the dog. I play his dog every day.
Yeah, I mean, what does the dog have to do with anything?
That's right.
They're better than people, actually. I think.
As my little corgi is sitting behind me snoring, I can hear her all the way over here.
Aw, that's cute. Yeah, my little doggy is out and about in the backyard.
Yeah. The one dog's upstairs because she will not let me record now for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like 10 interviews ago, she just suddenly decided that she has to bother me through the entire episode if she stays here with us. And I'm like, nope, you're going outside or you're going upstairs. I was like, I can't do this no more.
So, Yelper.
Mine mellow out. They just hang out. So
cool.
So we got to get into this. Movies. How did you get into filmmaking?
I got into filmmaking actually. I knew in school when I was in high school fairly early on that it's something that I wanted to be involved with. I was like really big into like special effects makeup when I was younger. And as I got older, I just decided to go to film school, and that's kind of how I got into it and really like learned the ropes. And then I got an associate's in that, and then I went for my bachelor's in film. So yeah, I came out of there thinking that I was a movie maker.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, guys. Film school is not the route. I'll be the first one to tell you. It's not. It's like a waste of time and money. Unless I would say there's a very, very select few that actually are worth investing in, you know, that they can get you into Hollywood, like real professions. And they do teach you how it's done the right way instead of like kind of setting you up for failure. Like, all right, you could do it by yourself, you know, and then you're like, how do I raise my, how do I, what really does a producer do? Like, you just, you know, and
Oh yeah.
that's like 4.5 years of film school. And I'm still like, huh? You know, but
Well,
yeah.
I learned more. I
Hands
did
on.
a convention last year, and I ended up talking to Gary Tunnicliffe. He's a director on Hellraiser Judgment. He was the special effects guy for Hellraiser, I think 3 through 10. He worked on Halloween. And he's semi-retired, so he just told me like all these secrets, like that. You know that he goes, oh yeah, they'll blow smoke up your ass because you know they'll like oh we like the script, but you know they just either A don't want to deal with you and they'll just kick you down the road to somebody else. And I was like, yeah, I got really excited. I was like, yeah, it's like I pitched an idea and I got so far and they're like, well, what's your budget? And I went, I don't know. And he goes, yeah, he goes, that's just them feeding you a line of shit. He goes, because they have people that do that for you if you
Right.
already got that far. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Then I mean he's like telling me all these secrets behind the scenes. He goes, you don't know how many movies get started and never finished. You don't know how many
Yep.
movies that and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Very true.
So um but you went to school, got your 4 years of film school, and
Came out, started an independent production company with mostly students from the school. But I would have to say we were very like go-getters. I mean, like we each had like talent, you know. So we had some, you know, some people that were like really good in After Effects. We had really good editors. I was the only special effects makeup artist, so I was the go-to girl whenever they needed, you know, that kind of stuff. And um so we all so basically I formed the writer scene, which was a production company that was comprised of 10 of us, and we would all collaborate and help each other out on each other's projects. And what happened was that we decided we used to have these meetings. It was like every Sunday at first, and then it was like one Sunday a month, but it was basically like meetings on how to take the production company to another level. So we started doing something called variety shows, which were like kind of like paying homage to like the early settlers of cinema, you know, like the D.W. Griffith and Thomas Edison, like, you know, when they first invented cameras.
yeah.
And if you know anything about the history of cinema, is that these large cameras weren't equipped to really film more than like maybe like a few minutes of footage, if that. So they would have variety shows where they would integrate these like short scenes and skits and integrate them with live acts like jugglers and fire eaters and all kind of stuff. So I did like kind of like a rendition of that. And
Mhm.
so we did 4 shows. It ran for like every season. And I would rent out theaters, and I mean we would fill up house. I mean, fill up house, and $20 a seat.
Ooh.
We had acts, live acts. We had everything from hula dancers to spoken word to break dancers to everything. And then we would like kind of end everyone with like an after party where everybody would like, you know, mingle and drink, and it was so freaking cool. And we did that for about a year and a half, and then I we lost like 2 people in a year. Like 2 people from my production company passed away. Not together either. It was like simultaneously, but it was so odd. And yeah, and then slowly but surely that group started falling apart because of that, because I was known as the production company that was jinxed. They were like, Cindy, you're cursed. I'm like, like I would get into fights with some of my crew members. Everybody thought that they were like the next to die. Because in total, since I started that, 3 people from my production company passed away.
Jeez.
So yeah, it was really weird. Yeah. 1 female and 2 males.
Damn.
Yeah.
Just the well, though you said you had 10 people, and chances are, you're going to lose somebody, but 3 in a relatively short amount of time is a lot.
Really? Yeah, it was kind of weird. I had a lot of haters. They probably did the Mojo Jojo on them, the little,
I,
God bless them. God rest in peace. I'm actually dedicating my 2 documentaries that one is in post right now and one is circulating right now through the festival circuit. I'm dedicating it to 2 of them because one passed away from cancer and the other one died of a seizure. He had a seizure and he drowned in a bathtub. So he was like always battling with epilepsy and stuff like that. So, disabilities, sicknesses, ailments like that, they really play a close part to me because I've lost a lot of dear people, from things like that.
Oh, I completely understand. I have a kid. He's a friend. I consider him family at this point. He has epilepsy real bad, and he was just sitting at my shop one day, and all of a sudden he just sticks straight. And I was laughing because he was playing on his phone. All of a sudden, his phone just drops out of his hands. And as soon as I saw his phone drop out of his hands, I thought he fumbled it because he's texting his girlfriend. And he goes stick straight, and he falls. And as I grab him because if I wouldn't have grabbed him, he would have smacked his head off the counter. And I'm sitting there, and I grab him, and I pull him. I'm holding his head off the ground. My other buddy's on the other side of the counter. I'm like, Bill, get over here. I throw him his phone so he can call 911 because I can't let go of him. Right. And I'm always on the lookout because I got a couple kids that come in my shop that have epilepsy and have seizures. And I have my son has autism, so I always worry about that. And it's I know I completely understand where you're coming from.
My sister's epileptic. I was raised by a family with disabilities. Like everybody, I was the only, I guess you could say, able-bodied person in my family. My mom, my sister, and my father, they all had different, things with them. And but I never seen a disability as a challenge. Like with I seen it as a weakness when it came to my sister because people would take advantage of her because my sister is not just epileptic, but she has like she's slow, like her brain isn't developed properly. So and I've seen how people treated her, and I was always the one to defend her, fight for her, get into trouble for her because of her, and take the ass whippings for her too. When it came down to who was wrong in the house, I was always Cindy. I was like, but and my dad, fell from a 6-story building. So he was, crippled, like he used to limp a lot. And he had some like really horrible scars on his body. And this man every day, every morning was a trooper to work. And there was no excuses for him. There was like nothing, like he was just so determined, and they would always make fun of each other, like their disabilities, and it was always like always fun and love in the house. So looking at disabilities, once I became an adult and now I'm outside of that, and then you're running into different people with other disabilities and just seeing life through their eyes sometimes, it's just, you see how effed up, their side of the coin is sometimes, like how people look at them, how they're treated. And in this case, in my film, how they're represented in cinema and horror, so there's so it's just something that I'm very passionate about. I'm an advocate for people with disabilities, and and that's something that I stand behind. And yeah, I know we haven't gotten to my films yet. I keep jumping and spoiling it. Sorry,
No,
spoiler alert.
you're right. Well, one of the things is bad about horror movies is that you go back, the handicapped person was always the cannon fodder. I mean, you never had the person with the disability up until relatively recently with movies like um Hush, the one with the deaf girl.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get, technically, I guess, Quiet Place. You have the other. You didn't have that because those people were picked off early on. I mean, you go back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Franklin gets taken out, just his sister trying to push him through the woods. So,
right,
they didn't. Now it's like, oh no, we're finally realizing that these people can take care of themselves because they have been for years.
right.
And yep,
I think they could teach us a thing or two, honestly. You know,
I had
we take things for granted, but when you look through people's eyes, sometimes with, you know, that have different abilities, it's like, wow, it's like the things that either you take for granted or you overlooked, and it was, yeah, that was like a real, even as a filmmaker, it made me think of things differently moving from this point on. So now I try to make it a point, even in my productions, to include at least one person with a disability. Like, I want to be so inclusive that, I don't want to just talk about it. I want to be about it, kind of thing. So
yep.
yeah, I think it's
Oh,
important. It all
yeah.
starts with us, right?
Oh yeah,
It,
definitely, definitely. Somebody's got to be the first one to do it, and actually, so if you're the first person to do it, then you're the first person to do it. But if not, you got to be the one who keeps it going.
right.
You can't be the person that stops it. So, um, I gotta say, the fact that I'm sitting there looking at your list here, and you're doing Witchcraft 14, 15, and 16.
Oh God, that was so fun.
Um, I'm not
I'm
gonna
so glad
lie, I have probably Witchcraft 1 through 6. I did
you
not
stopped
know
it.
there was 16.
I think 16 was shot in my house in California. They converted a yoga my living room into a yoga studio. And there was a really, that was like, I would say that film had the funniest blooper in film history that I've been a part of. And it was somebody queefed on set. Like, wow, we were like shooting while we were shooting, and it was the longest queef in the world. Like, I didn't even know that woman had that much air in her body, but it was like, it was the funniest shit. And it was so funny because the audio guy, turned to me, he goes, he's like, what is that? And I'm like, why is he asking me when the sound is coming from over there? And I was like, this, and because I didn't know what it was at first, and I'll tell you exactly if you watch the movie. There's a scene with a blonde girl, and she goes, and now we're gonna do the downward dog. So she lifts her leg, and it was like the longest queef. I mean, like an airplane was coming in at like high speed, like coming in for a landing. I was like, oh shit, hit the deck. But yeah, it was so bad. And then no one knew where it was coming from until she falls on the floor and she's like laughing like uncontrollably. And she goes, I'm sorry, guys. And I was like, oh my God, what did you eat? I was like, are you okay? She goes, that wasn't a fart. And that even made, I mean, we were just
worse.
it was the funniest shit. Sorry.
Okay. I don't feel bad now.
Because I would totally blow up.
I was recording my other show, and I'm sitting over here because I shoot this way when I do the other show, and I'm sitting there and I farted like bad. And I'm like, and I just paused, and I'm like, okay, and I went back to doing it because it's all recorded. I have to go back and edit it out later, and I'm like, that couldn't have been that loud. And then I'm sitting there, and you can see at the bottom of the screen, because it has the noise. And all of a sudden, it has this peak, and I'm like, and I'm listening to it. And it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, and this week we have. I'm like, that was horrible.
And those flies. Oh my goodness. Why are we talking about like flatulence? I don't even know. Okay. I can honestly say I've never in my life on a podcast ever had this conversation.
There's a first for every.
Hey, hey, we keep you on your toes, guys. Now you know why you have to watch this show.
That's right. You gotta watch my shows. So
Right.
Okay. Which one was that one? That was what, 15? Witchcraft 15.
Witchcraft 15 or 16. Oh my God. We shot all three in 2 weeks straight.
Damn.
We shot 3 feature-length films. David Sterling used to say, I think we have a world record. Like, we can enter the World Guinness Book of Records. Meanwhile, I'm doing all the work. I'm like sweating bullets, running around, trying to fan away the queefs. But yeah, it was crazy. No, actually, it was fun. I mean, it was a lot of work, but I enjoyed it. I did. It was my first production in California when I moved to Hollywood. So yeah.
The fact that you're able to knock out 3 movies in that amount of time is insane. I know that was it Jim Wynorski? He had I think he shot an entire movie in a weekend.
Wow.
And
Who's the Man was shot in a weekend with David Leary? Who's the Man with David Leary? Dennis Leary.
Yeah, but yeah, he was at the time. I think he had the fastest for a feature length film. He was able to produce it and direct.
Was it good though? Was it good? Is the question. No, it wasn't. And he most likely improv'd it.
Yeah,
because it's.
But here's the thing:
on a World Guinness Book of Records.
Well, what does it matter if it's good, if it's bad, if it's enjoyable? Because you can have. I love bad movies because they're enjoyable.
You know what? There are some really good bad ones out there. I'm there with you. Like, Zombievers, like Piranha Double D, right? 3 Double D. I mean, that was all cheesy stuff, but good cheesy stuff.
Yep.
Have you seen Don't Open Till Christmas? It's like an 80s movie, but my goodness, that is such a fucking funny ass film. It's by the same director that made Pieces. Have you ever seen that 80s film?
Yep.
Yeah, so
yeah. I think I own Pieces. I don't own
box, man. And that's cheesy horror. I love that shit. But I have my limit with cheese. I mean, sometimes it's like beyond cheese, and then I'm like, okay, I can't. It's like I'm trying, but I can't. People, But I do try to support as many filmmakers as possible. So sometimes I will suffer through people's bad movies just because I know how hard it. I mean, how much work it's that one.
Yep.
Regardless if it's good or bad, it's still work. Yep. Put that shit on camera and get to work.
Oh yeah, everybody, look at. I know people now that especially because I deal with a lot of guys in their 20s and stuff like that, that are just now like discovering like the Blair Witch Project.
Oh my god!
And they're like, that movie's horrible. It's dumb. I'm like, you don't understand. You weren't alive when you had to watch and you had to go through this phase. I guess. I enjoyed it, but they don't get it. And I'm like, they made that movie on like $5,000. I mean, come on.
I have to comment. That right after that, the lead, she never made another movie again. Because she just basically made so much money off that movie that she started a grow farm.
Yep.
Kudos to her, man. Kudos all the way. So yeah.
I love all the way to the bank.
I love fun facts, like fun movie facts. I love shit like, that we don't know or the scene, Yep. I love that stuff.
Oh my god. My wife hates it. My wife I'm the one who's fascinated by all the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm always like looking up information about movies and everything else. She's like, just enjoy the movie for what it is. I'm like, but that makes it more enjoyable. And I'm like, man, knowing full well that scene is not supposed to be in that movie makes it that much better.
I tend to gravitate towards like directors' bodies of works. So if, I'm like, oh, this person directed it, it must be good. For the most part, I'm usually accurate with that.
Yep.
9 out of 10 times. 9 out of 10.
Very rarely, if I get into a director it's got to be for the reason that I enjoy, and I'll even give their bad movies, their bad movies a chance because
Yeah.
you know it's then my one of my older sons he'll be like, I watched this movie and you gotta check it out and it's got all this going on. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, God damn it, now I like it. So
Yeah, my son's he's like that, but now with horror movies. I'm like, I'm on the Sonic Mario Brothers phase.
yep. Hey,
Next week, Mario comes out. I'm there. King
oh,
Koopa.
I got to be there too. My youngest son, he's waiting. He's still waiting patiently for Sonic 3. And
That's so cute. He sounds like my son. They get so hyped. It's like my son, the minute they did the little sneak clip. I
yep.
mean, my son watches like the special episodes that come on, like the exclusive like news from Nintendo. And I mean, from the moment he found out about this, it's like he marked it on his mental calendar, and it's like, Ma, don't forget, 2 more weeks, Mario. Ma, next week, Wednesday. And I'm like, oh my God, help me,
Yeah.
help me.
That's what we were already planning. I know I gotta take Vince to go see Super Mario Brothers. And the worst part about it is I don't know how he's gonna do because he's the one with autism. So sometimes he's great in the movies. He'll chill out through the entire thing. Other times, nope. But
Well, I guess you're just gonna have to play by ear.
yeah, but we took him to go see Into the Spider-Verse. He lasted all the way till about 10 minutes till the end.
Oh,
And
okay.
then my wife took him out, walked him around, brought him back, and he finished watching the movie. He just needed to get up and walk around. So I'm
Right, right,
hoping
right.
that I can just do that. And then,
Look, I think he's gonna be really entertained with this one. It looks pretty good.
yeah, well, it's like I didn't know how good he was going to do with Sonic. And then me and him were sitting here watching Sonic down here too. And he did not move the entire movie.
That's
And then when they
awesome.
have the post-credit scenes where you get to see Shadow,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Now can we watch 3?" And I'm like, "Buddy, they haven't even made 3 yet." I was like, "We're gonna have to
Uh-huh.
wait." Now I don't even know if we're going to get a 3, and now I'm disappointed.
Now they have to make a 3. They have to because your son wants to see a 3, so they have to make a 3.
Yeah, they introduced Shadow, so they need to have a Shadow movie.
You might have to petition that, but they have to. No, I really do think they're gonna come out with a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So I gotta ask. I always ask this about everybody. What's your go-to movie? What's your movie that
Oh, Killer
you can
Clowns
watch?
from Outer Space.
Which one?
Killer Clowns from Outer
Killer
Space.
Clowns.
It's either that or um I like Evil Dead too. So those are usually like my go-to. I love, a go-to horror would have to be a horror comedy for me. You know what I mean? And those are like dark comedies. Dead Alive, I fucking love. So I'm like, that's more like, I know I tend to switch like favorites, but it's always in the horror genre. So I might start with like, yeah, like at first I liked all the exploitation stuff, like the gore, like the torture shit. I was well into that stuff. The more brutal, the better, because with me, it was me observing the effects.
Mhm.
And so, but then, after a while, I started, I don't know, and maybe it's because you become more aware of things around you or whatever, the horrors of reality or whatever. Whatever mental shift that I had, I started not liking that so much, because then I started like being like, oh, well, the whole exploitation of women. And then I started getting on that. And then I was just like, you know what? So then ever since that, it's been more like horror sci-fi, fantasy horror, and like horror comedy. I love like dark comedy. I love like creature features, and they usually always have like, some kind of like comedic element. So I like that whole integration. But there was times that I was kind of like on a drama horror fix. Like you could see that with like Hereditary, even though that's kind of like cult horror too. But I would throw that into like a drama. I mean, there was a lot of emotions, like a lot of family. There's a whole, if you took the horror out of it, you have a drama. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we had this discussion. I know this is bad. Is I get so much crap. Is I'm not a fan of Hereditary, but
I wasn't for so long until I read the script. But go ahead.
but it's an intense family drama that it felt like they threw a horror movie in at the end. And I got so much crap, and I tried to, and my friends like, no, you need to rewatch it. Maybe you just weren't in the right mindset. I'm like, okay. So I tried to rewatch it again. I'm like, nope, still don't like it. I was like, I gave it another shot. But yeah, I couldn't get into it.
It took me 3 times before I actually was like, this is one of my favorite films now. I actually have to give Ari Aster props for that, because and you know what? And that's what, when I started researching the directors, when I started having more respect for the film. So I read the script, I did like script breakdowns on it and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, now I understand it. I didn't understand. I was lacking understanding of the film, which is why I didn't like it. That was just me personally. But that's part of his genius on making this film. And then I noticed this is a pattern with Ari Aster. He has a pattern with cult films. Like you have Midsummer, you have The Witch, and these are all cult, like have to do with the occult and with some kind of it's always like some kind of how do you say cult, but like what's the word that I'm looking for? It all revolves around like that, horror, I mean that dark spirituality kind of thing. And fuck, in Midsummer, it's not coming to me right now, I'm sorry, but like in Midsummer, like they're worshiping like the winter solstice, and then in Hereditary you have Damon, this god, right? And I never got that. It just was like over my head, because they're so light with it. In the beginning, it was like the way he did it is like, I didn't really see it, you know what I mean? It was just like, you know what I mean? So when it did happen at the end, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? There was some things that I really liked about it that made my hair stand, and for me, that's a rarity. I don't jump, I don't flinch, nothing. But I did get a little bit of like, a little, like that one part where she jumps on the, when she jumps on the top of like, what is it, like the roof thing? And she's I thought that was fucking creepy. I thought that was probably the creepiest part. I was like, that was well done, But so I ended up learning how to respect the film after 3 tries, and only because I was forced to watch it, through Sundance. I was part of like some Sundance group there, and they were all like, and I'm just like, I don't want to watch it. Oh, come on, Cindy, give it another shot. Maybe you'll, and then after the whole breaking it down and reading the script, then when I watched, I'm like, oh, okay. I think when you read the script, and I noticed that because I did that with a few films, that I actually was either able to understand the film better or kind of respect it a little bit more, but it might still suck to me. Like Get Out, I was just like, I read the script and nothing's changing my mind. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't like this film. But I dug the script more than the film, if that makes sense, because I think that that's where directing comes in, because I didn't really see I didn't really see that transition in from script to screen. So I felt like the backstory of the girl was like very faded out. Like she was like hardly, slim to none there, you know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know. So I felt like it lacked a little bit of character development. I mean, it was really more the guy's story, even though that it's really the girl's like back, like she's the one that's reeling in. And so I feel like there was certain things that maybe could have been a little bit different for me, but I didn't really like it so much. And that's just my personal opinion.
Well, I do think that once, I know this is bad. Years ago, I used to do comic book shows, and there was this guy that would always sit up next to us or across from us or whatever, but he always had scripts. And some of the scripts never got made. They were early drafts, they still had the, like fifth draft, at the bottom and stuff. And I got to read scripts for movies that never came out, or the one we got is nowhere near what was originally published. And it's funny because you were talking about getting into a script more than you got into the movie, and that happened a few times with me on that. But one of my favorite ones was I read the script to Spaceballs 3, The Search for Spaceballs 2. And and it's the only script I ever read where I laughed out loud while I'm trying to read this script, because it was so funny, but it was one of them ones that I don't think it was ever going to be able to get made because
Right,
it's
right.
so, meta, and it pokes fun at the making of money, and
Yeah.
then, trilogies and stuff like that. And it was funny, but it never got made. But the script was great. Same with Escape from Cleveland. The second Escape from movie, because it's supposed to be Escape from New York, Escape from Cleveland, Escape from LA. They refer to Escape from Cleveland
Like
in
escape
Escape
out.
from LA,
Hey, yeah.
but it's never made.
Chicago. Escape from Florida. He was gonna go through the whole 50s.
We're just going to hit every state. I don't
Right,
know. I've
yeah.
been to Cleveland. You
I'm gonna
have to
escape from
escape.
all of them. Escape from Alcatraz? Oh no, no, that's not part of the franchise. Wrong movie.
Yep, wrong movie. But yeah, my whole thing is that my wife, she does not like The Witch, and I got into The Witch. And
I'm a big fan of it either myself.
the one scene that gets me every time
Yeah.
is the fact that you never see the devil. The devil may not even be there. And when she's sitting at the table and that guy walks through behind her, all dressed, all nice, and he goes, "Wouldn't you like to live deliciously?" And that hits me hard every time because I'm like, that's something the devil would say.
Yeah. Well, they what do they say that he's the greatest whatchamacallit? Not illusionist, but like he's the greatest trickster.
Yeah.
So and Lucifer actually means light,
Yep.
you know?
He's the morning star. He is the light
Yeah.
bringer.
He's the angel of light, right? So it's like, and how ironic is that, right? So, and I mean, that's part of his charm, I guess, is the fact that he can be so beautiful and so deceptive like that. He's
Yep.
like the master of all treachery and lies. So, yeah.
Have you ever seen I believe it's the second Prophecy movie with Christopher Walken? Viggo Mortensen is Lucifer.
Yeah, yeah, I did see that actually.
I that's
I love the
probably
prophecy movies. I think they're also like kind of beautiful in a sense. I don't know why. It's just there's a certain element of beauty to it. It's like I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's because it's the music, because the soundtrack from the prophecy and the prophecy. Well, I don't remember the prophecy too, but I just remember that music was so damn moving. It was so like the music in itself, like you could just close your eyes and you know what I mean? And it's that captivating that you could see a movie in itself in the music.
yep.
You know.
Yeah. But him that whole scene with him as the devil and Viggo Mortensen in that is great too.
Is that the
That's
one with the little girl? That's
yeah,
the one
where he's talking to her and he's like,
or something.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, she's like, what happened? She goes, like all love, it withered on the vine, and he's like, just really poetic.
I
He's
actually think he played a good Lucifer.
and Vigo's a is a good looking guy, and
Yes.
and you're just like, you wouldn't think that he would be the devil, but he is.
Right, right. But I would always envision somebody that's not ugly or hideous being the devil, believe it or not. I would actually think the devil to be quite handsome and succulent. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. That's why I love the TV show Lucifer.
It's
'Cause,
true. It's true because how else is he going to entice people? I mean, you're gonna be whatever you're gonna be appealing to whatever is that
Yeah.
person desires.
What the people that you want to convince, you're going to be the most beautiful thing to them. So,
Right. And what's that saying that it says the greatest lie that the devil
the
ever
greatest trick the devil ever pulled,
was
convincing the world he didn't exist.
ever existed. Right. Right. And that's so true. Because everybody's here like, oh, you have people like, oh, please, the devil doesn't exist. And then you have like these celebrities saying, hey, I sold my soul to the devil. Oh, you have no idea. I got an alter ego and he talks like this. I'm like, yeah, so you were saying, I'm like, come on, like we're living in today's day and age. I think it's kind of stupid to even be, to even be that narrow-minded, you know what I mean? Because it really is like, I mean, we have it all around us, right? Good and evil all around us. And I mean, some pretty evil stuff that happens in this world. I mean, that doesn't come from, good. And then you have some pretty great things that can't possibly come from evil. So, I mean, life is all about yin and yang, right?
Yep.
Constant battle of homeostasis and equilibrium. That's what life is. So yeah, we're polar.
All about balances. It's all
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's not that there's more of one thing or another. It's just that it's just the way it's spread out.
yep.
You know. But yeah. Interesting. We're having like, I never thought that we were gonna. I'm over here like, oh, I'm gonna talk about my films. We're talking about comic books, farting, queefing, you know.
Deep philosophical conversations about farting. There we go.
Mario. This is really an odd podcast. I love it. I love it. I'm digging it.
This is what I like about doing my podcast, because I always have people, they're like, I wanted to chime in on your show because you're talking, and I'm going to go, yeah, I understand that. Or I'm like, that's the point of my show. So I like just having conversations with people.
I love it. No, I love it. And that's what makes your show original. It's not these, like mundane questions. I mean, you're like, we're having a conversation,
Yeah. Yeah, and I sneak a question in every once in a while, and then
that's all good. What's your next question?
Next question. All right. How did you get into producing? I mean, you did did that spawn the movies out of producing the stage shows?
Actually, I did do producing my own movies, which were like mostly shorts. And I guess you could say to some degree that was producing, even though compared to Hollywood's producing, it's not. It's not. But I would say my first official role as a producer was working on the witchcraft films. That was my first line producer. I had no idea what the hell that meant. And I learned on set. So, fake it till you make it. That's all so true. And then I started learning things about like coverages and stuff. So I guess like my producing career started to somewhat blossom in Hollywood because I had a friend of mine that was like a former producer of Warner Brothers. May so rest in peace. He passed away too. I probably am like the Grim Reaper in disguise, right? But I love black. Random shit. Okay, so yeah. So that's my producing stuff. And then I just produce my own films. I don't think I've ever been a producer for anyone's films. I think it's just been producing my own stuff. And when I did the witchcraft films, that was the first time I actually produced someone else's film. So I would say that was the first time that I was actually a producer, that I could actually say, yeah, I produced a movie.
So I have to ask, is the witchcraft like IP, is that just available, or do you have to go through somebody to get that?
I know it's a franchise, and from what I remember, David Sterling is like really good friends with the person that originated and here's the funny thing. I only know of the first witchcraft. Like that was like a cult classic. And I was like, I like that. So when I was approached, oh, you heard of witchcraft? Like, yes, I'm over here thinking I'm going to direct a sequel or something. And he's like, 14. I'm like, what the fuck? You guys are on 14 already? Like, what kind of exploitation shit is this? Like really running into the ground. So from what I remember, I'm not sure if David Sterling bought the rights to the franchise because he's still going with those damn films. But I know that he did have some arrangement at the beginning when the filmmaker like stopped making his films. I don't know how many, up to what point that he was just like, okay, Hamas, like I'm done with this. And David Sterling was like, hey, let me make like 20 more,
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it can't be no worse than what Amityville. I just read that there's over 50 Amityville movies.
What? I know, but why? This damages my brain when I see this. I'm like, my goodness, it's everybody wants to
copyright the name Amityville. Yeah,
I guess.
Well, because Amityville's a town, and you can't like trademark the town. So everybody just makes a movie with Amityville in the title. Has nothing to do with the house. So you can
it's a city in Long Island. Yeah.
So
I actually knew somebody that lived there, and she actually had these like really spooky eyes. She looked like the Village of the Damned. Like she used to look at me like, Cindy, you were late today. She was my boss.
The people
I'm like,
wide-eyed
man,
and
Ash,
everything.
where you from? She was like, Amityville. And I was like, oh, it makes sense. Makes sense.
Oh man. It was bad. My I don't know, about 5 years ago, my grandmother went to Amityville on a trip. Like a bunch of older ladies went on this like bus tour.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm like, did you get any cool pictures? She goes, I got you a hat. And I'm like, okay. So I have an Amityville hat floating there. So
Hey, draw a house on that and you're good to go.
it's I'm gonna make a movie called Amityville House. Amityville, not a house. It's gonna be Amityville Hat. It's just gonna be
The hat special.
the hat is possessed. Whoever wears the hat dies.
And there you go. You got a movie right there.
That's
You
just
just
it.
you just pitched your next great movie idea.
That's where I'm at right now. Is I'm hoping I got my fingers crossed. I'm at least going to shoot test footage for a movie or a series this summer.
Nice.
That's my goal. And then I got to see if I can. Then I'll put something together and then maybe raise some money and finish it. So I don't.
Right. Oh my goodness. Speaking of raising money. So the movie so I have a campaign going on right now. Can we talk about this
Yeah,
right now?
yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I have a campaign going on, Merciless Christmas. It's a Christmas horror movie starring Eugene Clark from Land of the Dead. So if you remember George Romero's Land of the Dead, the tall, big black zombie, the actual smart one.
The
I
Big
guess
Daddy.
Big Daddy, yes.
Yep.
So he basically, like, I've been friends with him and I've kept in contact with him throughout the years and stuff like that. And then finally, I spoke to him about this film and he was down and he's down. And I'm so happy and I'm so thankful to have him on board. And he was down even with us having the budget. Now here, so it's very important that I have to make this film happen, so and our budget is not $20,000, it's 50. And realistically, I was like, okay, there's no way in hell I'm gonna raise $50,000 on Indiegogo. So we decided to just, throw 10 out there and see in hopes that it will go in demand and see how far it goes. And then from that point on, we'll try to raise the other, the rest of the money from private investors. And yeah, and so I also have Apache Ramos from the Warriors. He's in it. If you remember, the Warriors were going back to the 70s. Can you dig it, right?
I love that movie.
Oh man, so many of those one-liners, they like resonate in my brain. But there's but Apache's line, he's part of the orphans.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one that says, "We're gonna rain on you, warriors." The kid with the big afro that looked like a microphone.
Yeah.
That guy. So he's in my movie as well. It's gonna be good. I'm not just saying that, but I like the story is an original story. It's kind of like a hood horror story. So it takes place like kind of like in a Candyman setting, and it's it's like a revenge slasher film. So but it's a slow build up on his psyche, and I think there's like a lot of things in the film that's relatable to some people if they watch it, like a situation with well, I don't want to give too much away, but definitely donate to the film because I'm actually speaking with someone, a potential sponsor. I don't want to jinx it, but I reached out to somebody that hopefully we could get some weapons sponsored on our set, and I'm really looking forward to that. And it's a small world because it just so happened that I reached like a weapons site, a company, and it just so happened that the person that runs this company owns a production company. It's like, what? Like, this is so far removed from like the production world, but yeah, he's like, hey, maybe I could help you out. I'm like, so we're talking. So yeah, I think there are people that are interested in investing like on the side, like off of the campaign. So I welcome that. Anybody definitely reach out to me if that's something that you're interested in. Trying to make a good movie. The more money we have, obviously, the better film that we can make.
Mm-hmm.
But I am one of the queens of indie bootleg low budget cinema, and I could make, I mean, that's what I started with when I started my variety shows. That was all, we made 40 films with no budget. And some of those films, they look like they really have budgets. Like you would think that, there's actually at least a few $1,000s going, because one of the guys was like really good with like special effects. I told you, like After Effects. He made like a sci-fi movie with like flying cars and everything like that. I mean, it was really a cool like film challenge to ourselves and how much we accomplished. And I really learned how to wear multiple hats and make films with like little to no money. And I mean, not even shitty films either. I mean, like we had our camera. Once you have like your equipment, then you know what I mean? So the equipment we had our cameras, we had a green screen, we had professional, boom mics. We was like not stealing equipment from the school, but we would borrow the equipment from the school and shoot our movies and then return it. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
so we learned how to like scheme and make our films, and we made a lot. Within a year we made 40 films. So like we each, one film per person times 10, for 4 seasons, and we had a good show. And we have compilations. Like, I don't know if I have one here in the room, but yeah, we have our little we've tried a lot of things. I even tried a comedic, like some kind of a comedic spin-off that was kind of like in living color. We called it the Writer Scene Skit Mark, the Writer Scene Skit Mark show. Skit Mark. And it was, I could send you like 2 of them. They were actually like really like outrageous comedy. Like we really used to push the gamut. And we used to sometimes, like, our films were just like, yeah, I think by now I probably wouldn't even make it to Hollywood if they saw the films that we made before. We were just so like, and then we would have our audience come and they would rate it, and like, oh, you said this too much, or I didn't like this. But it's good. You get feedback from a real audience and stuff. It was really fun. Those were the good old days. Oh, you're into heavy metal, right?
Yeah.
So are you familiar with the air guitar competitions that
Yeah.
go on?
Yeah.
Okay, do you know we made a film called Air Guitar, and it's based off of that? It's about a guy that's like world-renowned air guitarist. It's so fucking funny, bro. I'm trying to get it. Sorry, I'm just coming down from a cold. But I just reached out to my friend who is, this was his idea, because he's my best friend. He's into death metal, heavy metal. He's well into that shit. And so he's the type of person that, whenever the music's playing, he'd be like, his fingers go all over the place, like,
Yeah.
And then he told us about this air guitar competition. Showed me like in a magazine. It was like a magazine from like Sweden, like some death metal like, look, they really do it, and the cash prizes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There's like a thing, like this is a thing.
Yeah, and it's not small either. It's huge.
No, yeah, I know. But the thing is, it's so funny because that's not really something that's even talked about here in like the US. And so we made a film called The Legend of Biadel Hernandez. It's like it's just outrageous comedy. So like we like really like we took shots at like ourselves, because I'm Latina. So in the movie, like they make jokes about our names, because sometimes like a lot of Latinos, they have multiple like last names and middle names. So it's like there's like 5-6 names in their thing. And so I played the Latina that had multiple husbands. So it's like, and I took their each husband's last name. So I'm like saying my name for like a minute. Like, my name is Miranda Mortigas Sanabria de la Cruz. It went, but it was so funny, like everything. And I'm supposed to be this. The movie's about that's actually one of the few movies I act in, but I'm like this journalist that's like a big fan of J.R. Hernandez, and I'm looking for him because he disappeared after he was like beat in this air guitar competition by Ludwig van Steinberg from Europe. It's because they originated. So he came, like our guy just has like a regular, what was it that he was playing with? He was playing with just some like regular like stick or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then Ludwig beat him because he came with an actual guitar, even though he was air guitaring with the guitar. So it's like this big thing. So he went into hiding, and I'm like over here, like trying to find where he's at. So I'm interviewing all these people, and it is such a fucking funny ass. It's so funny. What's that mockumentary with that oh man. I forgot that there's like it's like an old school like mockumentary about like this rock band that was trying to get
Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap.
Yes. So it definitely has that Spinal Tap feel. I mean, it is so funny. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I gotta get it, and I totally would send it to you. I mean, but it's a little, there's things that are like kind of exploitative and all that good stuff. But it's fun.
Oh,
It's so fun.
I've did a script a few years ago. It's something I really want to do. It's kind of morphed into one of the things I'm working on now, but it's a John Wick meets The Crow. I guess
I like it already.
It's the working title is the Oni, which is the Japanese spirit. So these people have to don this mask, and they stop speaking English, so they only speak Japanese when they're wearing the mask. So they got to go through all this stuff to get their revenge, and then when their revenge is done, then they die. It's that whole theory that when you go out seeking revenge, you dig two graves, one for you, one for your, But right. I have this whole section where this guy fights luchadors. So I wanted to have as many people in the luchador masks speaking Spanish, not one word of English, and I don't even know if I want to subtitle it either. And then I was like, but is that offensive? I mean,
well, I think if that's the theme of your film, I mean, you have the Japanese wearing the Oni mask, so they only speak Japanese, and you have the luchadores wearing. I think actually it's kind of funny, and it has a cool twist to it, you know.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that I know luchadors too. So
hey, there you go. That's actually a pretty cool concept, though. I like that. Like, wear this mask, and it's like kind of like you're embodying that language, right?
Yeah. It's the demon comes to you, presents you with the mask, but also tells you that you're invincible as long as you are out seeking revenge. But as soon as your revenge is done, you're dead. You're done. You're burnt out. The whole candle at both ends.
But was it WrestleMania that he had like a mask, and then after a while he couldn't take it off or something like that?
Yeah.
It's not that. Well, he was already Spanish, so the mask.
Yeah, that's Rey Mysterio's uncle. Rey Mysterio. Oh. It's Rey Mysterio's uncle, Rey Mysterio. Yeah.
I thought. Yeah, I was just gonna say. I thought his name was Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, he was Rey Mysterio Jr. See, it gets really complicated because Rey Mysterio is the uncle to Rey Mysterio Jr., whose son Dominic Mysterio is now a wrestler. But now the original Rey Mysterio now has his son is a professional wrestler who wrestles under Mijo del Mysterio. I'm not 100%. It's the son of the mystery, son of the mystery, and yeah.
Shit, that's funny.
The dumb shit I know.
That's cool. That's cool. That's funny.
Well, it was. I worked at a hotel, and it had a Mexican restaurant in it, and so I hung out with a lot of the people that worked there, and I became friends with all of them. So all we would do is they would come out, and they would have to stop. Like the kitchen crew would come out and watch their soap operas, and then go back in the back and finish working. Well, I found out that they would start showing me AAA, and we started watching Mexican wrestling at like 3:00 in the morning. So cool. I became entrenched in that. So the dumb stuff I learned. But I do have to ask you a question here, since you do special effects makeup. All right. No. Were you did you have, I don't know how old you are, so this
we're not gonna say now. And
no, I know. I had the VHS tapes of Tom Savini and all of his stuff,
I had those things too. They were pretty bad. Well, the copies that I have were pretty bad, like the old school stuff, right? Tom Savini's like old school.
Yep.
What was it, Master of Effects or
Yeah,
something?
it's
Like,
like Master of Illusion or
oh
Master.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I had that. But I had like a version that was like from Chilla Theater, and that was like Chilla Theater. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yep.
But it's a convention out in New Jersey. It was like my first horror convention, right? And pretty popular. Like a lot of people, like I met a lot of people there and stuff. But that's where I bought my copy, and they were like kind of known for selling a lot of bootlegs
Hmm.
at Chiller Theater. So it's like you got this thing that's like like the VCR, like the rain. I mean, what it was.
You had the tracking across the
Yeah,
bottom. It's
it's
like
like, and
sixth
it's
generation. Yeah.
the offset of the tint on the color, and you got like Tom Savini turning green and yellow. It's like, yeah, but I still have those somewhere. I actually do.
I probably
Yeah,
still got mine.
actually, I was so like so in awe. Like Tom Savini, really, I would have to say. I mean, yes, I admire Dick Smith, Rick Baker, but it was Tom Savini that really got me to like gravitate towards wanting to become a special effects makeup artist. I was like this close to going to his school, and I'm friends with him now. Like I know him now and stuff. But it's so funny that when I was younger, I was just like I was like I have to I dreamt, like I fantasized about going to the school, and like the things that it was just so. I would watch his Tom Savini special effects makeup school trailer that was like 4 minutes long. I would watch that shit a few times a week. Like, I kid you not. I loved it. I really loved it. I loved the way the trailer was put together. And I just like Tom Savini was always so cool, cool to me. Like, come join my school and learn the art of, and I'm like, yes, he's the master of this. I have to go. I want to learn animatronics. And I went to the School of Visual Arts and I learned a little bit of special effects makeup there. I was in some theater program in New York, and it was like a free theater program kind of thing, but I learned a lot about like stagecraft and like special effects makeup. And I remember like some of my early films, oh my goodness, so bad, the special effects. I remember when I did, it was so bad, but I look at it now and it's like the funniest shit. Like, I don't even know why I did this, and I think I learned this from somebody in the industry with wet toilet tissue paper and just putting it on somebody's eye, and then I just put like a random eye on top of it. It looked so bad. It looked like he had a fried egg on his face, and he's like, "Ooh!" And it was so funny because he's a zombie, but he can't be like this. He had to be like this.
And if that falls off.
His face, and it's like sliding. Ooh, and he's trying to like hurry up and move off set. So
I
so
I was on a movie set and the girl did special effects makeup and she did the rolled up toilet paper. And I'm like, oh, this is just gonna be. And then she did a scar going down my face. It starts like up here and it goes all the way down through here. And then I get shot in the head. So she puts a bullet hole there. And you would never know if I'll dig through because I know I have it on my Facebook. I'll send it to you sometime.
right.
You would never know it's toilet paper and like a kid's art supply set. So the paints and everything are like the color paints that you get when you were like elementary school. She did
Good
all
job.
this makeup and it was
Wow.
great.
But I mean, tissue paper definitely does have its uses. Like, I mean, when I do prosthetics and stuff, I do an overlay of tissue first, because when you put like the color, it absorbs the color better than skin does, obviously it's paper, right? So it kind of looks like when you have an open wound, like it looks good. Like it looks like you're like looking into somebody's flesh, and I love that shit. It's so fun.
It's when I was in high school, I was fascinated by horror movie special effects, like big time. I had all the magazines, I had books on it. I had the old videotapes and stuff like that. And then I live about 40 minutes from where Kevin Yeager grew up.
Oh wow. That's
And so me and my buddies were always fascinated. Like, Kevin Yeager just lives down this road in Dayton. And I did a report in a class called applied sciences, and we taught them in the class about how they built the Chucky doll. And I built a prosthetic movable hand and the whole 9 yards accordingly.
That's nice.
And like all the I got like an award for it of all things.
Yeah, shit, I'm not that good.
And then another class I did, I made my fake blood because we had to do a speech and we had to do a how-to speech. So I made fake blood.
Nice.
And then I made the mistake of giving the jug to somebody and letting them have it. And and then it came back to me because he dumped it on some dude's car out in the parking lot.
Oh shit.
White car, stained it.
Oh wow.
It never went away. There's this big.
No, it doesn't. I mean, well, I know that. I mean, obviously, like when you're dealing with like food coloring, a lot of that stuff is like it stains. You know, it does stain.
I made the mistake of a few years ago. I did a photo shoot and I was a zombie in a photo shoot and I still had my beard, but it wasn't as gray as it is now. And I had a mouthful of fake blood. I was like, ah. And I let it run down and I went, oh, why did I do that? And
So your beard was like sticky and
it was sticky and red for like a week. It sucked.
Oh, I have to ask, since you brought up special effects makeup, what are some of your favorite like effects, like that you on-screen effects that you could be like, yeah, this is like some of the best effects?
The zombie, the eye, where they break that piece of wood and they keep getting closer.
Yes.
You're waiting for that.
Oh man, that's Lucio Fulci rocks, man. Fulci lives.
That's right. Lucio Fulci. I
love him. He's one of my favorite directors.
I watched The Beyond and Gates of Hell and Zombie at least once a year. And love those movies. When
he
was
on like a little Giallo thing too for a bit, like Don't Torture a
Duckling.
Don't Torture a Duckling. What is something baby? New York Ripper.
Yeah, Manhattan Baby, New York Ripper.
Manhattan Baby. There we go. Yeah.
Yep. I have
them all.
Yep.
Yeah, I love him. And you know, he was supposed to work on Demons with Dario Argento, and he passed before that.
Yeah, because it's Lamberto Bava ended up Mario's son. Yep, that's another one.
You know what? I was gonna say it's my favorite demon movie. I actually like it's my favorite Argento movie, even though he's like
he's
directed
just See, I'm
in the music. He says he's a music composer.
Hold on a second.
He's so horrible with his music. My goodness, I don't know why he keeps scoring films. Bendito, I don't think nobody wants to like tell him that he can't do music. That's what's up.
On final.
You need to get it signed by him. That is like, I kid you not, my favorite. It's my favorite movie.
Well,
it's like my favorite. It's my favorite Demons movie. Like,
I'm a sucker
for Night of the Demons. I know a lot of people's, you know, Leanna Quigley. Everybody likes the little lipstick scene, but that fucking movie right there. You want to compare effects? There's no comparison. I'm sorry. There's like real gore in there. Goretta was such a great. She was so great. Like, you know, such a great. The pimp. You had so many like different characters too.
I love the pimp.
Theaters, right?
I love the fact the pimp comes back in the second one as a completely different character.
Yeah, the second one had those weird like babies in it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I'm a sucker for the demon movies because there's only two, technically. Right. Because then you get in the Demons 3.
You know, there's more, right? Okay.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them.
No, but you know, there's not a real Demons 3. The real Demons 3, Goretta is working on right now with Lombardo Bava. I don't know if you know that or Umberto.
Yeah. Well, I have the Ogre Demons 3. I have
the Ogre Demons 3.
The Ogre Demons 3. That's like I think it's even on the
Demons 4.
Hold on.
Ay, Dios.
Okay, these I can get to easily. The Blu-rays are a little harder to get to. And see, there's Demons.
Nice.
Demons 2.
Okay.
Then, there it is.
The Ogre.
Demons 3, the Ogre.
Why is it?
And
See,
then I
I didn't
have
get past the second one.
The Church,
The
which
church.
is listed as Demons 3 or Demons 4. I
Okay.
have La Seta, which is The Sect, which is listed as sometimes Demons 3 or 4. And that's not including that you have there's at least I think 3 more, and I have 2 of them, but they're on Blu-ray and they're.
So how are those other ones? I've never seen any of those.
You've never seen?
I mean, I've seen Demons 1 and 2, but the other ones, like the church, that you're like, oh, this
The
one's
Church is great. I love The Church.
okay. What about the other one? The older one?
Demons 3, I want to say was actually made for TV in Italy, but that doesn't
Okay.
say anything because it was made for TV in Italy.
Was it gory?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's I wouldn't say it's
Okay.
real gory, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I heard they all sucked, which is what kind of
No,
like veered away
I'm
from
a
them. But if
sucker
you're
for.
saying they're good, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I am a sucker for them. I will watch. I have my goal is to get all of them, even though I think I'm missing Black Demons and one other one. And Black Demons is weird. That's a haunted slaves are possessing people, and yeah, it's weird. So I don't own that one. It's the only one I don't have.
So these are all so these are all from under that demon franchise, supposedly, right?
Technically, yes.
Loosely. Are there some of those fan films or something?
No. These are all. I don't know how to. The only 2 legitimate ones are Demons 1 and 2. Even though Demons 3, the ogre, it says Demons 3. It's only in certain markets. It's kind of like the La Casa films, which is weird because I think it's Evil Dead 1 and 2, House 1 and 2, and a couple other movies. They just kept putting La Casa in any movie that was a haunted house. So there's this whole franchise in Italy called La Casa, but it's just a bunch of non-connected movies that came out in America.
That is funny. That is really funny.
I am a huge fan because I love the house movies, and it's funny because in the United States we get House 1, 2, and 4.
No, we got 4.
The third one is the horror show House 3, but
House
it's
3.
only House. It's the horror show in America. All other countries, it's House 3.
I didn't really like that last one. That was the one with the gunslinger guy. Is that the one?
No, that's 2. That's the House 2, the second story.
Film?
Yeah, that's the one with the crystal skull. And
I only watched the first one. I watched all 3 though, but to me they started gradually getting worse and worse as I started watching, like following every movie. The first one is obviously the classic, but you know.
Oh yeah, but I am I have an obsession with finding movies like the demon movies that are in a universe, but they're not even connected. I mean, these 3 movies right here have nothing to do with these 2 movies down here. So,
Got you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the third one.
Oh man.
So stay tuned because there is supposed to be a Demons 3 coming out soon.
Yeah.
I don't know how soon.
Well, they could film it at the Metropole because it's still there. They actually have film festivals there. And seriously.
Nice.
Yep. Oh man.
So do you have any more questions for me?
Yeah. No. Okay. Here we go. So where can people check out your films?
Okay. So you could check out my films on YouTube. Most of my short films. Actually, Merciless Horror is my first feature-length narrative that I'm going to be able to get out because I shot a feature length before. It made it to Tribeca, but it was like the powers that be, it just kind of, we shot in a haunted house too, so there was like a whole backstory behind that, but anyway, so I lost my footage for that, and I had a fully edited film that kind of crashed. It was so weird. But anyway, um so Merciless Christmas is my first feature-length horror film. Right now we're raising money for it on Indiegogo. So just go to Merciless Christmas on Indiegogo, or Indiegogo at Merciless Christmas. Go to the search bar, search Merciless Christmas. It'll say a horror movie, and that is me. And it'll look like something. For right now, we have something that looks like Deadpool's hand. But great news today. I just got my artwork, our new artwork. So like our permanent like poster art. And then we have some cover art, which is really kick ass. I'm very thankful that we have some really good artwork. So we're going to be releasing some new merch next week on the campaign. You'll definitely want these. I mean, like the logo is to die for. And then I have a funny line. It says he's coming for that ass. You gotta get a shirt. Man, you gotta get a shirt. You have to.
Well,
You gotta
yeah,
represent.
I just did Indiegogo with 2 movies. Now I gotta do.
That's right, but see, mine's is the best. I'm just playing. I'm being modest. No, but yeah, so Indiegogo, come find me. Merciless Christmas. We could definitely use your help to make this film become a reality. And you can find me on YouTube on the Horror Tour Guide. I have my films up there too. But Horror Tour Guide is it's a pretty big site. So each, we have drop down menus and stuff. Definitely look through there. I mean, I have haunted history like blogs, and I think that's, in my opinion, my favorite part of the site. Because I got to go to all these deadly destinations, how I used to call them. And you really learn a lot of history too. Like we went to Edgar Allan Poe's cottage, the last one that he died, that he was living in when he passed, and his wife passed away, and she died there from tuberculosis. I visited a ghost town out in California in Bishop County. I mean, I visited some pretty cool places, and none that I've ever heard of before, so like the Whaley House, the Whalen House, the Jamel Mansion in New York. So many really cool places. And so yeah, so definitely you could go on the site. We have movies there, we have films on there, we have films that if they're in public domain, you might find them there as well, like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, stuff like those nice classics. I think for now, those are the 3 films. I don't have anything out on any kind of streaming. That's soon to change. But for the unless it's like witchcraft, but that's not my film, I mean, those are just films that I worked on. So I have, worked behind the scenes on different people's films, on different people's, movies, whether it's makeup or producing or script supervisor, whatever. But yeah, so for the most part, you can find me on YouTube, Horror Tour Guide, and on and you'll find us on a current Indiegogo campaign. But soon, hopefully, you'll be seeing me on streaming platforms soon, and hopefully at the movies next year.
Cool. Last question. What advice do you have for people trying to break into the filmmaking?
I would say don't be greedy. And if you're in a position where you're able to help others, do so. I really hate those people that covet, gatekeepers and shit like that. Primarily it makes it hard for people like me. I mean, there's like 3% of women in cinema, like in all reality that work as a whole. And you're talking about 1% maybe about 3.5% in like the horror genre, about maybe 1% that's women of color. So we're just like such a minority. And I mean, like, dude, you guys are missing out. I got some good shit, I got that good shit. But so all I'm looking for is for a chance, and eventually you'll see some pretty original stuff, because I have a little bit of a morbid mind. Most of my films fall in the horror genre. You know, I would say 98% of my films do, but every once in a blue moon, just like, actors could get typecast, when I was really well into, like, when I first started my film career, a lot of people were like, what's going on? Like, everybody thought I was like this psychopath. They were like, what is in your mind? Like, if I gave you $1 for how many times I heard that something's wrong with me because I like horror or I make horror films, like, how could you even think about that? Like, please. Like,
Yep.
I was born and raised in Harlem. I see this I used to see this shit all the time anyway, you know? No, but yeah, just support. I would say just support one another and educate yourselves. It's so important to educate yourself. You're only as good as your last film. So, I mean, you make a good movie, beautiful for you. Don't think you're like the best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? There's always going to be somebody better than you. You know, somebody more innovative or inventive. Stay humble. And just learn, because this industry is ever changing. Technology is coming into play. I came in when analog was phasing out. I mean, where digital was phasing out analog. So I came in that transitional stage where I was working with both. And film was like kind of like nostalgic, but it's like kind of like, you know, so it's like analog phased out film, and then, digital phased out analog, and now you have, I don't 4K phasing out digital. I mean, like, it'll keep going. And, the more that's the best way to stay on top of your craft. And don't think that your films are such the best that you only watch your films. Like, you'll never, that's part of learning, watching other people's movies. um I like I said, support each other. Like, don't hog it all to yourself, and don't be selfish, because eventually you're gonna run into a humbling experience that may not, it'll be humbling for you, but it might be humbling for you in a bad way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't wait to get to that point. Always stay cool with people. Always, like, try to build your network. Obviously, not everybody gets along with everybody. In this industry, you're gonna find that, but stay professional. I've worked on shoots with people that I couldn't stand, but we made a movie, and and as a collaboration, as a team collaboration, we made a great film. Will I ever speak to that person again? No, fuck that person. But at the end of the day, while I'm on set, got to keep it classy.
Yep.
Keep it classy. So yeah, that's my advice.
Cool. Well, I greatly appreciate you coming on. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Yes, thank you
Um,
for having me.
and I always put this out there. We got a con coming up in June here in Ohio, and we hopefully in November, we're trying to plan our November show, because the November show is going to be the big one. We're hoping to go to a 2-day show in a bigger location. So I
Nice.
always let everybody know that you're more than welcome to come up. And if you ever want to, I think we're doing this one. We're doing a viewing room. So we're going to put some movies up. We're having a couple of the actresses that were in the movies come up, and you can watch the movie with them and then talk to them afterwards. But we're always one of the ones that I've showed local filmmakers movies in my shop. I've set up the other side, put the projector TV over there, and we showed them over there and done all that stuff. So
It's
I
nice.
try to help indie horror as much as possible
You
because I
you
love
sound
it.
very supportive.
Yep.
I wasn't talking about you, by the way, when I said that. um, but it was totally cool speaking to you. This was a great, great chat. We went to horror and beyond, which was
Yep.
awesome. Great
I,
topics. You're a great guy. This was a great first like meet.
oh yeah.
Um, and definitely. Oh, here's my question. Okay, what part of Ohio? One, and two, what's the name of your film festival?
Well, we are in Piqua, Ohio, which is about 30 minutes north of Dayton.
Okay,
You head up 75 and you'll run right through our town. We are the Piqua Comic Con right now.
nice.
Hopefully, I'm working to try to get. I just got from a guy who's helping me get guests. We might be getting the guy who did stunts for Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. and his daughters were the jump rope girls from Nightmare on Elm Street. So
Nice.
this is
Oh, that's cute. They
fingers
were like,
crossed type thing, but
well, they're adults now.
oh yeah,
Cute
but
little blonde girls jumping in the 1, 2. Oh my goodness,
that's
that was
right.
an yeah.
Um,
Freddy's one of my favorite slashers, so that's pretty cool.
yep. But that may not happen this time, but we're hoping to once we grow because we had some issues because we were in a mall of all places that was mostly empty, so we were using a storefront. Then they moved us out of the storefront, so we took up this big chunk of the end of the mall where you walk down the hallway. We had the Batmobile last year. This year we're going to have the Mystery Machine and Dracula from the Munsters.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's my little town doesn't have a whole lot.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. It looks like you're really trying hard to like have a nice
Oh,
event. It's
definitely.
cool.
That's what I want to do. I want to bring the cool stuff to my hometown.
Nice.
So,
Well, it looks like you're doing it. Congrats.
thank you. It's been an uphill battle.
I know I tried to launch a convention right before the pandemic that kind of went down the tube. I mean, who knows in the future if I'll try to revive that again, that idea, but it was a lot. It was a lot. So I'm totally I totally empathize with you and kudos to you, man. That's a big feat,
Yeah, and it's hard because I run my business, I take care of my kid, I got my wife, and
that's it, family man / dad / husband / Superman.
I am a massively proud of my family. I got 4 great kids and
oh, congrats,
awesome wife, and
that's always a wonderful thing. God bless. That's awesome. Sweet.
So, all right. Well, I'll let you go and let you get back to doing what you're doing. And thank you again for being on the show. Like I said, I'll probably edit this Sunday. And even though there's not a whole lot to edit out, except for when we got up and moved around a little bit.
Boy, edit out some of my coughing. I'm sorry. I was sick. I'm just getting over a cold. So I'm like coughing. I'm like, it's not COVID.
I did an entire episode when I had COVID. So I'm interviewing somebody, and
what's your next favorite movie?
No, I didn't cough, but I was sitting here because COVID hit me hard, and I couldn't stay awake. So literally, I'm like, and I would have to kind of
thought you took an edible or something before coming on the show.
Although I've done that before too, without thinking about it.
Right. Hey, I do that all the time. I think there was this guy that I used to do podcasts with. And it was so funny because he's a Californian, but he was such a goody. And I'm over here every time we had a meeting, I'm like toking up like weed. I'm like, so, and I think after a while he got tired of that shit because we only worked together for a year. And I'm like, hey, what's up? He was like, oh yeah, I've been busy. And I'm just like, this motherfucker doesn't want to work with me anymore. Was it the weed? Was it the weed? Tell me the truth. Was it the weed?
Well, I'm legitimately interviewing one of my friends who's a comic book artist. He worked for Nickelodeon and stuff. And I ate a gummy. And I'm sitting there and we're talking. It usually takes about an hour and a half for him to kick in on me.
Right.
And I'm sitting there figuring I got plenty of time. And at the almost at the hour mark, all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I'm high. And I'm like, I watched the episode, and as far as I could tell, I couldn't tell I was high, but I don't know if anybody else could.
I think when it comes to edibles, it's more in our heads. Like we're feeling the high and we think people see us high. But for some reason, the edibles, they don't give you like that effect that when you smoke, even though you feel it, mentally we're feeling it. Where things are going on, in the head. But, but in actuality, it's like people are looking at you like, are you okay? Because you're bugging. You're like paranoid and stuff like that. It happened to me when I was on a date with a well, he's a cop, but he's it was like he worked at a correctional facility, but he's like a supervisor. And oh my God, it was the worst because the same thing. Like I took the edible, and I remember when I went to the dispensary, he was like, look, just only take one because that shit it was like these new, I think they were called Cushy Punch. Yeah. It was like just came out, and he was giving freebies to like the dispensary owners, and they gave me one for free. And for this little jelly thing was like $40. And I was like, this little shit. He was like, listen, it's cut into six pieces. Don't take all the pieces. He said, you know, take one. If you don't feel it within the first half an hour, then take another one, but don't surpass that second one, because when it hits you, man, you're gonna go. And I'm like, all right. I went to the movie theater. I mean, in the first one, half an hour later, I'm like, but it tasted so good. So I have the second one. I still don't feel it. I'm like, man, and I popped the whole thing in the movie theater while I was watching Straight Outta Compton in California, in LA. How gangster is that? So I was like, so I'm here. Here I am next to a cop, high as fuck. I was so high. And then, so when the movie ended, I didn't even want to leave the theater. I'm like procrastinating. I'm having like, he's like, Cindy, we gotta get up. We gotta go. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I wait. Let's wait for the credits to end. And it was like the credits zoomed by. I was like, it was so bad. I was so high. And then I caught like a panic attack because like he was intimidating. He was like this big, really big guy, and he's looking at me, and I'm thinking I'm gonna go to jail. And I'm getting all paranoid, even though that obviously that wasn't the case. But it was that experience was just like weird. I was like, never again. You got to do it at the right place at the right time, man, because you have a good high.
Oh, here I only do it here. I chill out. I put on my TV.
Home with your wife, relax in bed, watching a movie. Yeah, you already know. You got it. You got it down packed now. No more meetings. No more meetings.
No more. I do. I eat one after I do the entire
celebration, a celebratory. Yeah, after.
That's as soon as we're done, I'll go over and grab one. I'll pop one in, and I'll be good for that.
That's right. Well, I got my bud. I'm about to roll up. Yeah. So I smoke blunts and joints and bongs and all of the above. So yeah, but thank you so much.